Hey, what's up? Welcome back. I'm the Zim. This is the Zim video. This is my 15th rideshare experience video. I'm an artist musician from Seattle, Washington, currently living in San Diego, and I use Lyft as my primary source of income while I do other stuff, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. But this week is going to be very comprehensive, probably be over 20 minutes long. I'm not sure. This is my third shot at making this video. There's a lot that came up for me this week. The main thing I wanted to do, well, every week I'll just break down. So I'll go through how much I made, my star rating, kind of ideas. I got a couple of topics I wanted to talk about just real quick. Lyft Line, the new tipping on the app. And then I have a driver, experience as a driver that I thought was fun that I want to share with you. And then I have experiences as a rider I wanted to share with you, that just for ideas. Maybe I should have broken these up into different videos, but we'll see how it goes. Because this week I wanted to give you a very comprehensive breakdown of how much I made, what I do with that money, how I account for taxes, just how I personally process the money I made over the last week and every week in a sense. I've done something similar like the second or third week I did this. I gave a pretty comprehensive breakdown. But as I've learned and grown and do different things now, one of which is the Express Drive program factors and changes things up and how I perceive the job and whether or not it's sustainable and things like that. And I'll give you my breakdown so you can make up your mind if it's sustainable or not. I believe it is for the most part, because for a lot of factors, which I'll get into in a moment. First thing I do need to mention, so last week or the last 2 weeks ago or something, I was talking about the route I drive. And what I noticed, last week I was talking about how I noticed I was making less on average, and I was also changing up my route more, doing like Adams Avenue, which I'm down with Adams Avenue, but I just approach it differently now. And I'll tell you real quick about my route, because it's not equal to what was happening before. This week, I changed my route dramatically in the sense that I did not go out looking for rides. Maybe 10% of my ride journey while I was on doing my job, I was kind of went ways where I would maybe like go to Adams Ave and things like that. But essentially, I would get a ride from my house in City Heights, go take it, and come back to my house in City Heights the fastest way possible. And usually that was on the freeway, on the 8. Is usually what I did. Every once in a while, I would dodge up to Adams Avenue or some other way if it just kind of made sense. If I was like downtown, and I would kind of cruise through. But I'd take the 163 and just half the time I would go all the way to the 8 and just bomb through, because I would typically get rides off of the 8 like at Hotel Circle and different places like that. So this weekend I just changed up my routine, tried to get home as quick as possible, because what I found for me, the ROI, that kind of like the ride quality, the amount I get paid per ride is way better if I wait longer between rides at my home in City Heights than if I go through busier areas and get like those $4 or less for us, $3.75 rides, $3 rides for us. It's just better for me to have one ride an hour at $10 than two rides at $6, because, well, that's just an idea. So keep that in mind while I break this down, because I do feel like I do feel pretty good about how much I made this week. I wish I made a little bit more. I always wish I made more, but I do feel good about it based on what I see on the user groups, what other people make versus what I make versus what I'm willing to do as a driver, which I'll talk about more in a minute. So let's get started. I'll put up the slide of how much I made. It was getting deposited into my bank account this week is $793.36, and I'll tell you this how much I made and how I made it, and then I'll talk about what I do with it after it's in my account. So try to be fully comprehensive. So let's start off with just this slide right here. I did 123 rides. I made $1,050.03, or I didn't make, but that's what the ride payments were. In tips, I made $79.04, plus a $10 tip in cash, or $10 in cash I made this week that I remember. Or maybe I made more, but I think that was all I made was $10 in cash, which keep that in mind because that factors into some stuff later on. I got $10 in canceled earnings. So, and then Lyft took off of that $1,050.03. Lyft takes their 25%, which I guess is $262.61. So since I'm part of the Express Drive program, I rent a Chevy Equinox, which cost me $235 a week to rent that car, plus what they say is they in the San Diego area we rent through Lyft through this company called Maven, which is like a fleet service or something. I'm not sure how it works in other areas, but in San Diego it works through this company called Maven, and they have service charges and things like that. They have this one called a vehicle damage surcharge, which is $9.90 on top of that, and then there's a rental tax, which is $18.20. So all total, I owe Lyft/Maven $263.10 a week to rent the car. So there's that. However, at this moment I'm going to put up my slides of the rental bonus. So I did make the second tier bonus, which is a $180 bonus, they call it, toward, I get paid extra for making the amount of rides I need to make, and the amount of rides I needed to make to get $180 was 35 peak time rides and 95 anytime rides, which includes those 35 peak time rides. So there's the little circle chart, and then I'll put up where I drove to get all those rides, and here it is. And then, so as you can see, I worked every day of the week, and I put a little red dot where I managed to complete the rides I needed to get the second tier bonus, which was 4 o'clock on Saturday. So everything that came after 4 o'clock on Saturday was just more money for me, and just that kind of factor. So that's how that worked. And I'm curious, there's a side little tangent here. I'd really like to know what algorithms Lyft uses for determining who gets what rides and when. If you're a part of the Express Drive program, do they kind of focus you in on shorter, closer rides, or is it just a crapshoot and you don't know? Because the moment I made my tier level, I got a ride up to Del Mar, which was like $25 or something like that, like right after I made it. And it's like, I would much rather, just as a side note to this whole thing that I've noticed, I would much rather just make more money and pay that full $235 than get shorter rides to try to get the bonus, because I feel like it's better in the long, for me, it's the ROI aspect of everything, just to get more rides that are longer and better paying than the short, stupid ones that we all know we hate, right? Do you hate them as much as I do? Anyways, so there's that idea with how much I made this week. And just as another side note, with this whole, I just showed you the breakdown. I did not pay attention whatsoever. I was not feeling, I was basically running the, the whole system with not caring whether or not I made the bonus. I was just like, I'm just going to do whatever happens, work with a good sustainable schedule for me and my body and what I need to do, and not even care about the bonus. And I managed to get the bonus anyway. So that's a good thing for me. But I wasn't really fretting over whether or not to get the bonus. My objective was to just get as many rides as I could and get as much money as I could, and then have it play out that way. So that's the side, that's that. So we're up to, so now you know how much I made and how I made it. Now I want to tell you what I do with the money once I made it. Make sure I did everything. So, okay, so the last thing I haven't showed you yet is my daily breakdown. So here's the daily breakdown slide. So each day I drove. Monday was pretty good, $130 or so. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday weren't so good. Thursday was actually not. Thursdays can be a pretty decent day. It wasn't that good for me for whatever reason on Thursday. Friday started to get better. However, the difference between Friday and Saturday on my chart was all in the tips. I did more rides on Friday and made less money than I did on Saturday, and it was all because of tips. So if you are a passenger watching this, tip your driver. It's a game changer. It's a total game changer. I feel pretty good about making $200 for the day on Saturday. Saturday in San Diego this week was amazing. I think a lot of drivers I talked to since and whatnot were this is the kind of days we want. It was like ride after ride. It was really great. Obviously, I always want to make more, but it was a good day on Saturday. So that's what's going on. One of the things I've noticed, I'll mention a little side tangent here. So Sunday. So the two things. My favorite time to drive is Sunday morning. If you're a new driver in San Diego and you want a time that is going to get you more rides consecutively, try Sunday morning. I think a lot of people burn them out on Saturday night, which they should, which I'll talk about in a moment. But that leaves open a lot of people want rides Sunday morning because there's a lot of people that left their cars places that need to get back to them. Commuters that are just going to work. There's just a ton of reasons why people, more brunch, more Sunday morning brunches and whatever things going on Sunday. So Sunday morning between 6 a.m. and like 1 p.m., great time to get out there and drive. Consider that when you're driving. I love it. It's my favorite one. It's probably my favorite time of the week to drive is Sunday morning. So good. Get so good. You got airport runs. You got all kinds of stuff. I mean, it depends on your area. Out of my area and where I am and where it takes me. Really great. So this Sunday I was able to get some of those rides in, but Saturday night I worked till like midnight, and I just slept terrible, and my body was just like saying, no, please stop driving. Just rest. You need some rest. So that's why Sunday I didn't drive as much as I wanted to on Sunday. I could have probably made another $200 on Sunday if I was able to drive the whole day, but it's that whole sustainable factor of the job. It's like the amount of hours I need to put in to make it worthwhile in terms of the money part is a lot when I have a full week to drive like I did last week, and it really wreaks havoc by the end of the week on my body. So that's just what's going on. I try to get in all 14 hours of app time that I can every day that I can drive to make sure I can make my ends meet. What I was going to mention about probably what I've noticed through the user groups and when people show off how much they made and things like that, typically it feels to me like between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Saturday night is the best window of working, like the shortest amount of time you can work to make the most amount of money is within that window. So I don't know, try it out for yourself, consider that, because you'll get lots of people are out doing things. The potential to get those prime time drives are a lot higher because there's just so many people out that need to get home after the parties and stuff. Of course, you have to contend with and possibly deal with all the drunks and throwing up in your car and just weird shenanigans that I prefer not to deal with. So that's one of the main reasons I do not drive that part of the time. As you see on my chart, I drive every day, all day, so I don't really want to mess my schedule up with doing one night thing, because the way I do it, I start 7 a.m., go till noon. As you saw, I go to 7 a.m. to about noon, take a break till about 3, drive from 3 till about 11. So I need, at some point in there, I need to reset my app so I can get that 14 hours back, and I have to do a 6-hour break. So I just choose to do it at night like that instead of driving through the night. So that's what's going on with that. So now I'm going to tell you what I do with the money once I got it. It's in my account, and now I have it. I'm going to round up how much I made this week to $800 just for convenience sake because of that $10 cash tip kind of. So there's that. So I'm rounding up. So what I do every week, I know that I spend around $200 in gas to make it through a week. So I make sure I set aside $200 that I made the previous week for the next week. Where I'm at in life and what's going on with my situation is I don't have any kind of savings or anything like that. So I need to make money to make it to the next week, to be able to put money in the gas tank to keep the motion going. So I put aside $200 for gas. The next thing is I put aside 15% for taxes. So this time, $120 is for taxes, and I just put that aside in a separate account and just wait for tax liability. And I told you before, last quarter I didn't pay anything for taxes, but I still, because I didn't have to, because my expenses versus what my income were such that I didn't need to pay anything on taxes. I only had to pay Social Security, but that's a separate thing. But I still want to put that aside to make sure it's there and have it, and then at the end of each quarter I can then go, okay, I have this left over, and just use it for life things as well. So what that means, like for this last week, that means I have left over $480, which to eat, to pay bills that I have to pay for, put toward rent, do all that stuff, which isn't the best, but it's okay based on some other situations, which I'm going to talk about now. So now I want to talk about taxes again, and write-offs, and then maintenance on the car and insurance ideas. So because I'm doing the Express Drive program, the way I put the accounting in my system, in my QuickBooks stuff, in my accounting program, is I put $263.10, the rental fee for the car, as an expense that I pay out of, because I'm responsible for that amount. I pay that, so I put that in as an expense so that I can then write it off on my taxes. So that's an expense. And then any kind of customer service stuff, because I'm one of the types that likes to provide water and candy and little things for the passengers. So I make sure I write all that stuff off when I have it, and say like $10 a month or so on that. Somewhere rough, $10 to $20 a month on that. So those are two things in terms of taxes. And then of course miles, tracking miles. I use QuickBooks, the mile tracker through the mobile app on QuickBooks to track my miles. So I got a shit ton of miles that I put on for gas, so I can write those off. So those are the three things, the major things I write off. There might be more things that I'm forgetting right now, but those are the things I track so I can write off for my taxes. The next thing, because I'm part of the Express Drive as well, I don't have to deal with maintenance. So this week in particular, my car was due for maintenance, routine maintenance. So I took it in, spent an hour there, just waited for it. And they said it cost around $50, so that's something I did not have to pay. The fleet service and Lyft had to pay that. I didn't have to pay that. So that's something to consider. Plus the fact that just if you look at it in the big picture window of this job, you're not paying the long-term maintenance fees when your car does need brakes and need just wear and tear type stuff, new tires and all that stuff. You don't have to ever pay any of that stuff when you use the Express Drive program. So if you look at it in the big window, which I talk about a lot about this job, is you really need to look at it in a big window and not a daily window. Big window of what your expenses are versus what you're making, and see if it's sustainable for you. Like I've been saying, I do believe it's sustainable for me, so I like it. So that's something to consider. And then the last thing, just in general with this, if you decide, which I'm about to do, I'm in the process of selling my own car. And so I'll be able to get rid of insurance and everything like that. So I won't be paying any insurance for myself because, again, the Maven/Lyft Express Drive program, they pay for the insurance. Part of that $263.10 is insurance that you pay to, on the car. So those are things to consider when you're looking at how much you made versus what expenses and all that stuff, which is great. And then the last thing about this whole kind of how much I made kind of aspect is what I'm calling just X factor stuff that really, really, really is like priceless to me. It's like you can't put a value on it in the same way. And I mentioned before, the two biggest ones for me right now is the flexible schedule. I'm a single father of 2 kids. I have them half the time, 50% of the time. And so when I need to be available for them, I can. I just turn off the app and I'm available for them, which is pretty darn priceless, not having to deal with daycare, not having to deal with 9 to 5 schedule that doesn't line up with school schedules. There's just amazing things. And it works out pretty well for me because I do have a full week to work at Lyft. The next week is all broken up and whatnot, and then I go back to a full week and then a broken up week. So I make money every week. It's just less and more and less and more, as you've seen in previous videos. So there's that. And then the other really big X factor is the not having a boss. I just was not excited about getting a 9 to 5 and having to deal with spending my life working for somebody else in the same way. I know I'm working for Lyft in a way, but I'm an independent contractor and I can run my business how I want and just kind of don't have to answer to anybody really to do it. So that's pretty awesome. And then the third thing is this week in particular, I publish a podcast every week and it allows me to work on my podcast in the middle of waiting for rides. I published a new song that I worked on this week and wrote and recorded and did a whole bunch of stuff with my music this week, and like I said, I published a new song. So there's a lot of things that I can fit within the downtime of waiting for rides that is just I wouldn't be able to do if I was working somewhere else. It's stuck at a job you're at a job for 8 hours, plus I always say it's 10 hours because of the commuting time between. It's just like you're spending that much time that, it doesn't work for me and I didn't want to do it. So that's actually pretty much, I think I got it. I think I finished the whole how much I made, how I made it, what I do with the money after I made it. If you have any questions for me regarding it, feel free to ask. I'd be happy to talk to you more. If you think I left something out that I should know, feel free to let me know. I want to roll into, this is going to be a very long video. It's probably going to be about 40 minutes long. But I want to roll into my star rating saga, as I call it. And I actually made it this week. I made it up to a 4.99, which I was pretty stoked on. So the star ratings will be scrolling by here for every week. It started at a 4. Well, I don't know what it started at, but I got up to one day this week. I got up to a 4.98, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good. Wow, 4.98." And I was like, "There's no way I was gonna get higher than that." And the next day, I got a 4.99, which was like, that's pretty amazing. I mean, I've seen every once in a while, I've seen somebody post that they've had a 5.0 straight up on the email side, not the app side. The app thing is different because if you get a 4.95 or above, you get a 5.0 on the app. But if you get your actual, star ratings through the emails, very rarely does anybody get a 5.0 because it means you have, for 100 rides that were rated, you got no 4 stars or lower. And somebody posted, when I kind of bragged about it on the user group in San Diego, and somebody posted that I should be super proud of it, which I am, because I like this job and I want to do a good job. And but he said something along the lines, that means I only got one imperfect rating out of 100 rides to get a 4.99. So that's pretty awesome. But then it lasted, app side, it lasted on a 5.0 for a few more days, and then it dropped to a 4.9 for a couple days. And that currently, right at this moment, I'm back up to a 5.0 on the app, and I think I'm at a 4.95 right now, just on overall, like the email star rating. So that's kind of what's been going on with my star rating. I don't know, pretty good, feel pretty good about it, but it's like I was pretty shocked to get up to a 4.99. That's pretty awesome. I wanted to talk about a little bit about Lyft Line. So basically, there's, just as a general idea, there's a lot of people that don't like Lyft Line. And at first I didn't like it either, because it was kind of confusing to me. But as I've gotten used to it, and especially now that I'm doing the Express Drive bonus program, and it helps a lot to get the bonuses to have Lyft Line, because you get two drives or 2 or 3 rides within one ride, which is awesome, because it typically takes, at least in San Diego, at least my rhythm, you get 1 or 2 rides an hour. So if you get that one ride counts as 3 rides, or 2 or 3 rides, which I've had a 3 ride before in one shot, then you could possibly pick up 1 or 2 more rides, so you could get 3 to 5 rides within 1 hour, which is pretty good for your trying to get your bonuses. So that's just something to keep in mind. And if you're going for bonus, you like Lyft Line. So if you haven't figured out how to like it, breathe and learn, because it's not as bad as you think. I understand that it can be frustrating, and this is where it frustrates me. So when I first started doing it, it seemed like I always got the Lyft Line request right at the beginning of my first pickup. Somewhere really close to the beginning of my first pickup, I would get the Lyft Line request. It seems to me, unless I just had the luck of the draw and I just didn't realize it was different, and that's the way it happened, or it seems to me like they changed the algorithm on the Lyft Line pickup thing now, because more often than not now, I'm like halfway to the location I need to drive to, and then I get another Lyft Line pickup, which causes a lot of problems, because I'm in the drive, like it's really not safe to try to mess with the app, figure out where I'm supposed to go, driving, I don't like that aspect of it. And the other thing is, it tends to be like if you're going somewhere, it might route you on the freeways or different things like that. And if you're getting a Lyft Line request on a freeway, you'll probably, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably pass the exit that you actually want to take to pick up that Lyft Line person, causing it to take more time, causing it then for them to cancel Lyft Line. And that happens most of the time when I get a request. The person sees, they're going to take 11 minutes to get here, I'm going to cancel it and try to find another one, is basically what it seems like to me. So if I'm already diverted, it's causing me to make that first person, I know they signed up for extra time in a sense by choosing Lyft Line, but it's just kind of like the customer service aspect of it can be kind of precarious if it continues the way it is, because it just, I don't know, I don't really like it. I don't like how it puts drivers at kind of risk for safety when we're kind of midway through a ride and we have to deal with all this changing of directions and stuff, especially on like freeway situations. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on Lyft Line. We like it as looking for bonuses. We hate it because it's fucking confusing and weird sometimes. And most of my passengers though, they get it. I don't really run into many passengers that are like, oh, somebody else. Most of them get it, so that's cool. I did take a drive this week and noticed that there's a change to the tipping system they have on the app. They do it by percentage now rather than the $1, $2, $5 or more way of doing it. I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see how it plays out over time. I kind of like the idea, especially with when you get bigger rides, that it's based on a percent rather than just $1, $2, or $5, because it gives you the chance to get more money right away instead of them having to go into it and then type in an amount, which rarely ever happens. Like, how many times? All right, I'm having a heck of a time trying to get through this video. It's a long one. Probably could have said all this stuff in a lot shorter amount of time, but whatever. I just left off with whoever gets over a $5 tip. It's pretty rare to get more than a $5 tip, but we'll see what happens if anything changes with the new percentage tipping than with just the $1, $2, or $5 or whatever. So anyways, that's that. So I wanted to share with you an experience as a driver. So I had my favorite drive so far. I'm up to like 1,200 and some odd rides. I don't know how many rides I've done. So, and my favorite drive so far happened this week. I picked up a couple musicians. They were MCs. They were on their way to a studio. We started talking about music because that's what I do as well. I make music and art and all the other kind of stuff. But they wanted to hear some of my songs, so I was like, okay, I'll play one of my songs for you. And they totally dug it, so that made me feel really good. They were jamming on one of my songs, and then I played them this other song, the one that I published this week when I was still working on it. I played them to that, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool too." And then they played one of their tracks and cranked it up on the stereo. And they started, so they were going in the studio to lay down vocals for the track that they were playing. And so they gave me a live performance in the car, grooving out, doing their raps and stuff, and it was really fun. I had a really great time. So that so far has been my number one favorite rideshare experience. I know a lot of probably other drivers probably wouldn't like that experience because it was pretty rowdy, but it was fun. I had a good time with these guys, and they were really cool to be in the car. So that was awesome. I also been taking Lyft more as a passenger, as a rider, and I just wanted to break down my experience so far as the drivers that I've confronted while being a passenger, and they've all been pretty stereotypical. It's pretty hilarious to me, actually. So I've only taken 5 rides as a passenger so far, and these are the 5 drivers that I've encountered in order. So the first one I took, I needed to go to the airport early in the morning. So this young guy, 20-something, came pick me up, and we started talking about it, and he's the I only drive at night guy. Like, just drives the night shift, likes it the best. He says he likes the kind of the antics, the things that I don't really want to deal with, he's cool with and wants to deal with. And so that's pretty funny. I thought that it was just like pretty stereotypical. Nice guy, awesome. Second person I had was kind of like a not quite. Didn't seem she liked people very much, but we started talking about, and it just seemed odd to me that she was doing this job and wasn't very personable. But we started talking about the philosophy of how she drove, and she was very much, you could just tell right away, the prime time, like only drove on the weekends and focused on prime time areas like Pink Chaser, I guess you could say, the pink zones that we talk about often as rideshare drivers, and just not a very critical thinker about the job. And it just seemed to me, I don't know, so that was interesting. Just to have the second drive was like the stereotypical go to where the app tells you to go kind of thing, which is not necessarily the best philosophy in my opinion. The third person I had as a drive, actually I've had more than this, but this is another person that I had as a drive. It was the smelly car person. Really nice girl, but man, it stunk in there. It was like really bad BO smell, and I started to roll down the window, and she was like, "Oh, you want me to turn on the AC?" And I was like, "No, I just want some air." And I mean, she was nice. We talked a little bit, but it was just kind of disappointing. I don't think she recognized that her car smelled that bad, and I didn't know what to do about it. And then another person I had, which is the only person I gave a bad rating to, was the kind of the I'm too good for this job kind of person. And it was like, he had a decently nice car, but he didn't take very good care of it. It was nice, new, but it was like kind of a little bit dirty. But it was like, he didn't have the stickers on. He didn't have any, what do they call it? The trade stickers on, the Lyft stickers on. And I was like, it was kind of like confusing and sketchy feeling to not have the stickers on the car. I was just kind of like, I don't know, this doesn't. And I asked him when I got him, where are your stickers? And he was like, oh, I don't put stickers on my car. I was like, it just turned me off so hardcore. I was like, I gave him better. I didn't want to be paired with him again because it was just so annoying to me that he felt he was too good for the stickers. And I've seen that before on the user groups where it's like people just they do the job, but they don't have any pride in it, and they won't have the stickers on their car unless even if they're driving. But it was just kind of like, I don't know, it just not my thing. It just really turned me off. It left a bad flavor in my mouth. That's the only person I didn't give a tip to, and I definitely, obviously didn't give him a tip, but also I rated him, so I'll never repair with him again. So didn't like that guy. But then the last person I had as a ride has the same exact philosophy on this whole thing as I do, which is like, okay, so I still feel a little vindicated and validated about how I'm approaching this job, and having somebody else have the same thing in terms of you're always heading home, kind of idea, rather than looking around for rides. Just to take a ride, head back home. If you get something good, if you don't, just wait at home and then go back out, kind of idea. So those are like my experiences as a rider, because I've definitely got the kind of bug, the kind of like how convenient this thing is, the bug a little bit, and it's just like, it's just gonna grow. I'm pretty hopeful of it that it's just gonna grow. All right, so anyways, if you want to become a driver, be sure to kick down my referral code, and you can become a driver too, and we'll both get a little extra money out of it. It changes all the time what you get out of it, but I've had one person do it so far. At that time, they haven't given any rides as far as I can tell, because we get to watch on our app. If you use my referral code, I'll see what process you are in it. And this guy's qualified to drive, but just hasn't given any rides yet, so I'm not going to get any money out of it. And neither is he. But at that time, he would have got a $2,000 bonus if he made like 620 rides in 2 months. And then currently there's a something going on right now with the Lyft app. Like I mentioned last week, they want to. If you get like 320 rides in 1 month, you'll get a $700. Well, I think we both get $700 bonus. I don't know. So, anyways, those are kind of what's going on right now with Lyft and the referral code that I know of. I know it works in San Diego. I don't know if you're outside of San Diego and you want to try it. Go for it. If you don't have any other friends, let's try it and see what happens. I'm sure it'll work, because Lyft always wants to get more drivers out. And then, of course, I make stuff. One of the things I make is a handmade clutch purse that I have an Etsy store for, alexanderthomas2015.etsy.com. If you want one, 20% off, use this code, and you can get one. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. This long-ass episode version, whatever you want to call it, Rideshare Experience number 15. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I'm sure I left something out. I'll get it next week, because I'm done now. I'm going to edit this and post it. So I'll talk to you soon. Peace.